What's up guys, welcome back to Whiteberg City Builds. So today I'm doing my 250 subscriber special showcase tour. So I'd like to just say thank you to everyone that's got me to the level of 250 subscribers. I know it doesn't sound like much, but to me, having just started out only a few months ago, it means the world that we actually have such a strong community and a really growing fan base. So thank you. This little video will be me taking you on a trip round Walhampton, showing you the sights and sounds of this town. You may notice, compared to my other videos of this place, I'm now using the vanilla default texture, and that's because I finally have come to terms with I think it actually looks better, and it really does help with just keeping this feel like a Minecrafty town rather than this modern thing that Flows HD was doing. So anyway, let's get started. What you're looking at right now is the market hall, something I misnamed in one of the videos earlier on the channel where I called it the town hall. In actual fact, it's more of like a mayor's parlour, where he would come to and sort of sign documents and stuff. The building you can see through the arches underneath the market hall is the mayor's house, where in actual fact he would conduct most of his sort of civil duties and his administration duties. So we'll get onto that in a minute. I just wanted to show you first of all what is sort of the city town centre. You can see over here we have testing a little bit of a tramway. So this tram was built by I can't remember who it was now. Built by Captain Jack. So I put out a little thing on Twitter asking if this person could perhaps construct a tram, a sort of 1920s tram, and within a day they'd already completed it and came on, and we have it in the actual server. So this looks great. So once I finally get around to actually putting up some power lines and finishing off the tram tracks, we'll have a few more dotted around the town. You may also be seeing this quite large sandstone structure here. This is the main church of Walhampton. It's the Church of St Margaret's, I think we've got it called in here, and it sits looking over the market square. So we'll come back to that one in a bit when we go wandering around the graveyard. So I'm going to take you over the top of the market square. This was one of my first time-lapse builds, and as you can see the buildings up around it are fairly tall, but what I've tried to do with this whole project is to keep a sense of scale and detail. So rather than making stuff absolutely gigantic just so I can get some detailing on the windows, I've gone, right, windows can be 1 block wide, and the whole sort of height doesn't have to be massive, so you don't feel like an absolute sort of mouse, let's say, amongst giant buildings. So we're looking at the back here of the mayor's parlour, and again I really was quite impressed with how this build turned out. It's a small little building, but it's cool. So this is a strange thing for me because I've not done one of these for a very long time, and it's nice just to wander around the town and sort of show off a few bits and bobs. You see over here the 3 townhouses that I've produced a couple of tutorial videos on, and they are based on a set of 3 townhouses in Lymington. In actual fact, that church there is also based on the same town, and I was really impressed with how these ones turned out. They keep the actual size and scale required for a Georgian build. You've got the prominent door, the symmetrical windows, and the cornice on the top, which is this little ledge. Also, to try and keep it into a sort of realistic look, I put loads of leaves over the front of these and here, and you'll see over here as well. So if we wander on down towards this is the mayor's house, the mayor's townhouse. What I'd like to say is none of the buildings internally have actually been done yet. So I tend to just build the externals and leave the internals for a lot later on. So you can see here I have sort of plastered the walls and put a little bit of detailing around like a skirting board, but apart from that the actual building itself is very much still empty. So if we quickly skip through this and go to the garden, and you'll see on the left hand side over here buildings. So this is my recent project, an area known in the town as Bridge Street, due to the fact that when we come down here you'll see it has a bridge that goes across the canal. And this is going to be my next time-lapse video, and it will feature me building the entire street in one video. So if we come up this way, through this little alleyway, past these this large townhouse and these shops, you'll come onto what is a sort of auxiliary high street. So we've still got commercial premises and It's mainly for hotels and bars, but you do have these residential plots. Now this building, when I finally got around to building it, I was so happy with how it turned out. Again, I've gone for the Georgian architectural sort of Palladia feel to this one. So you've got the columns, you've got symmetrical windows and proportional correctness. So I even used the golden ratio to design this one, if any architects are out there, to try and keep it looking perfect. And I'll just sort of take you for a little tour up here. So again, you can see these big windows have nothing in, and through the back here, that brings me on to actually something else I want to talk about. I tend to try and keep a bit of detailing in the walls. So what I've done is I've used granite to signify areas of bricks that have broken a little bit, become a bit worn over time. I think that makes really quite a nice little feature. You can also have it so you can have bits of terracotta or clay in there to act like you've got a poster that's worn away over time. So let's walk on down Bridge Street towards the end, and you'll see a couple of large buildings in pink. So when I built these, they were actually built with flows, which shows white terracotta as white rather than pink, but I still think the pink looks quite nice. You do get a lot of these buildings around England where they are pinky sort of texture. Taking a view back down Bridge Street, this is again one of my favourite vistas in the town. You have the large building on the corner down there, and the way the buildings bend round the street will come back to you in a second when we walk back up the road. But this is the extremities of what I've built so far. So the building on the left there has a poster down the centre, and this is a hotel building. One that I just really wanted to build for quite a while. I had it in my mind, this big chunky corner building. And the buildings next door to it are what I call canal cottages, so they're small little workers' cottages opposite what will be the main in and out of town canal system. But yeah, I think these ones really turned out quite nicely, and I was really quite impressed with them. For a building that doesn't have much in the way of space, it's quite hard to get a lot of detailing into it. So again, I used some leaves and some different colours and different blocks to try and signify a bit more detailing into them. I wonder if it does come across to you. I know that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's still, to me, it's lovely. You'll notice as well I use a lot of birch wood as details. Now this is a little bit of like in sort of world lore. We are situated within a huge birch forest, so I made a conscious effort in my sort of planning of this to go. A lot of the materials will be very vernacular, very from the land around what we have. So if I was to go build in a mountainous region, I would use a lot more stone to try and make these buildings fit in a bit more. Here I'm using a lot more birch wood to make it look like they've actually cut down some trees, used it at a local sawmill, brought it over here to be using as detail. It's just that sort of in-game lore I'm trying to build around here. So you get this really nice view down through the over the lake. This lake is known as Mount Pleasant Lake, and on the other side of Bridge Street is a lake called Passwood Water, which will be my next sort of area of construction. So if you'd like to come follow me down this little back alley, which will walk alongside the canal. The canal will also be mirrored over that side, so at the moment we've got a hill and some dirt and all of that here. You'll notice this building here has a red sandstone put into it. Now that's a hangover from when I was using Flows HD texture pack, and the two textures, brick and red sandstone, merged together quite nicely to form this old used pattern. But I will be replacing that over time with granite. So I'm just going to get out flying and come walk around and see what I actually think are some of my favourite townhouses I've built. So again, these would be little cottages, not cottages, but terraced houses for dock workers, for canal workers, or even like workers in the buildings behind. They're small, little, nicely detailed Georgian terraced houses. So I hope you are getting some inspiration for what you could actually build yourself. Very simple, nice simple use of blocks, nothing too fancy. What I do is I make the windows too wide and then use some birch hatches on the edges to try and make it look more like a sash box. But again, you don't have to do that. So what we're coming into now is an area of town that I haven't really fully built up yet. But this will be a row of Regency townhouses with big bow windows sticking out, looking across the Promenade. which will be, you can see where that stone is there. It will sort of venture out to about there and close off towards that road. This will be an area where canal boats and barges can come dock up, but it's not actually the main docks. We'll get to that in a second. As you can see in the distance over there, there is actually another part of town. This town is split in two currently. We have the docks further over that way, and then we have the more commercial centre where the church and the market square and a lot of the larger townhouses are. But eventually my project will be to build this promenade through here, have a nice large row of terraced Regency houses, and then a strange corner plot which I still don't really know what I want on it, but it will be directly opposite the main graveyard for the church. I completed this earlier on today actually in sort of preparation for Halloween, and you can see it's full of detail. So these graves are made from just a block of stone with a slab of stone on top to try and give it a little bit more height to it rather than just being a stone block. I've gone for quite a few designs, so we've got some raised coffin crypts with that on top. I wanted to give it a look of overgrownness, but not in the sense of it's been left to decay, more in the sense of it's a wildlife retreat for all sorts, and they do that a lot more to graveyards these days. But just walking on through here, we come to around the back of those terraced houses that sit on the market square, and also you just get some nice views across town. If we take a little stroll up this way, we'll come to the square out the front of the church. I'm going to show you inside the church because it's actually one of the buildings I've completed. So I've got a little bit of a review here. Love this church, even though I'm full of sins, by Captain Bunny. He was a builder briefly on here, and he carries on in our Discord as a main contributor. So this church was the Church of St Margaret's, built in 1126, which is when the town was founded by myself. The clerk of works is Popeye. I'm not entirely sure where that's come from, but if we go on inside, this was possibly one of my favourite interiors. Well, it is actually the only interior in this entire town. I built this church itself. I built it about 4 years ago. It was part of another project, and I copied it over as a sort of starting point for this town. So I've got an organ that I have no idea how I made, but I just sort of threw some stuff together to make that. Walking over the pews, we got to come down to the lectern and this area, the sort of altar at the top. And yeah, this is one of my sort of best pieces of work to come with detailing on interiors. Although it was never finished, as I'm just realising you can't get up to the clock tower. So we're flying up here. We might be able to see, if I can get up there, might be able to see the other part of town if the render distance is set up enough. As you can see, the railway line is heading off over there into an area that is unrendered, but I do want to just quickly talk about a few plans I have for the rest of this high street. So you may notice there's no buildings along this side yet or down the other side, and that's because I haven't entirely thought about what buildings I want to put along here yet. I know they want to be big, strong Victorian Georgian structures to show for hotels, shops and all of that, but I just haven't got the right ideas in my head yet. I've got a lot of inspirational images, I just don't know exactly how to implement that yet. But if we come over to this area here where this red line shows a road going down that way, it will be where these intersect. That will be where I'm going to build the train station. Now you can research this train station yourself. It's going to be a sort of imitation of the Southampton Terminus station or Southampton Dock station that was opened from the 1830s and sort of closed in the 1960s. The building itself is still currently standing there. I believe it's a casino, and I'm going to be turning it into my train station for this town. So these tracks will open up into four, because there's going to be 4 platforms here, and then they will carry on north towards the town of Hamwick, which is going to be the main capital of Hamwickshire, which is what this county is. So we're going to leave this area now and venture on down towards the actual part of the high street I have built. So these are a little row of small shops. I'm not entirely sure what time period they're from. Again, it would be a Georgian Victorian time, but I just sort of went one day, I'm going to build a couple of shops to get a feel of what I want the rest of the town to feel like. Again, it's a lot of orange sandstone that I may have to change up. Now, this was a little corner pub I did as a time-lapse build. It's come off quite plainly, but I do find it quite nice. Again, it's based on a real building, the Thomas Tripp pub in Lymington. Again, I'm using Lymington quite a bit for my inspiration for this place. Walhampton itself is, I would say, a district or a small hamlet on the outside of the real life Lymington, so that's the name I've coined for this place. But this pub here sits on the docks, so this is another part of the canal docks. We'll get to the main canal docks in a second, which is over the other side of that bridge. The main exports here are logs and hay, by the looks of it. I just wanted to put something along here. You've got these birch logs, which I was talking about, saying that's our main export from this town. And I've just tried to detail the backs of these shops a little bit because they'll be looking on to the other part of town. So we come to the ancient bridge. This was the medieval bridge that's been sitting here for a very long time, and such that it hasn't been destroyed, it's been protected, and therefore canal boats could not venture any further south past there. Which is nice for the people living down here. It means industry never came this way, and it sort of stopped up around there. So we're going to come on to the second half of the town now. This is the Dockside area, where the main villas and large houses are. So we've got this nice standalone Georgian house here. Again, correctly proportioned and all of that. And it's sitting next to the railway line. So again, going to give you a bit of lore about this. Originally, there was a couple more houses where this railway line is, backing up onto this house here. But due to the fact that the railway company needed to put the line through here, they had to knock down a few houses here and a villa here. So you'll see we only have 2 villas at the second here. Where that hill is in the distance, this road, known as Avenue Road, will continue on and it will be lined with villas. I just want to show you this large Riverside Mansion that I built, and honestly, I loved doing the pathing around here and the roads and all of that. Something just clicked in me one day and I went, I'm going to do lots of random roads. So it's, again, empty inside, but the forecourt up here is a nice touch, and the building itself is chunky. It's got a couple of constructions to it, so at one point that was just a centre, and then further on down the line someone else built this extra bit on the side. And it's got access into the river and a clear sort of look right down the canal there. But that's sort of all I got to show you on this building, because I wish I could do the insides of it and I could do a proper showcase of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and go under the railway line through this small tunnely bridge, come up past the back gardens of these villas. So I haven't finished detailing this one yet, but the idea is it's going to have a lake with some pathing going around, a bit more bushes in there, and this is maybe a servant's house or a guest house or something to do with that villa there. And this road will carry on in that direction, and it'll be full of these smaller terraced houses leading up over towards that bridge. So in my mind there's going to be a town further on down here called Brookley, and it's going to be more of a village based upon a real life village called Brockenhurst. So we'll get round to that in another video. I actually have an idea for that, and I think that will play part in a series I'm going to do called How to Build a Town, where I'll have the main structure set up for the roads, and then we'll do a sort of let's build a couple of episode series on that. Don't hold your breath on that one yet. I haven't fully fleshed out my ideas for it, but what I have fully fleshed out is this garden here. So we've got a little summer house at the back here, and it leads on to this large townhouse with, again, a covering of leaves to try and give it a bit of detailing. So this is another building I've taken over from a previous project I started a couple of years back. Again, based on a real life building in the high street of Lymington. I believe it was owned by a man called St Barb's, who was making his fortune from the salt panning industry. So he then later donated, I believe, a school to the town. And opposite is another large townhouse. I don't know the history of this one. I believe in real life it's called Monmouth House. And what I've done behind this one is inset a couple of buildings here again to be sort of servant quarters for people working in that house or working in the Docksides. So we've now made our way down to the canal docks. You can see it's a bit more extensive down here. We're selling bricks and logs and all sorts of hay. So what will happen with this canal will carry on up through there, and through that gap you can see there by the birch trees. This island is playing quite a pickle with me. I'm not entirely sure what to do with it. If you guys have any suggestions on what I should actually do with this island, then leave in the comments below. My main idea at the second is to put the factory here and have this area around here full of just terraced houses for the factory workers. But then again, it could also be a landmark, and it could have a monument on it or someone's large house. But I'm going to leave that up to you to try and put something down in the comments and see what you think. So directly opposite the docks we have the Sailors Retreat. So this is a little hotel, hostel for sailors to come and spend the night in. It's less of a bar and more of just a couple of rooms for people to, you know, once they get off the canals and it's late at night, they don't want to go to the pub or something like that, they want to stay into a nice hostel. We also have a couple more shops along this road, so this road carries on under the railway line, up over a diagonal bridge, and connects back into the main high street over there. Okay, so we can walk on through here into the back streets of this area. So this is a sort of coaching area. Now, we're on to the buildings, 3 of which were the first buildings I built in this town. So we've got this one here, which is a pub / hotel, and these 2 here, which were the first buildings I actually built in this project completely. So one Saturday afternoon, after a night out on the town on a Friday night, I was feeling quite rough, quite sort of like, oh, I don't want to do much today. So I sat down and I opened up Minecraft and came on and went, I'm going to actually build a Georgian townhouse. I've never have really done it for a few years. And this was the result. I instantly fell in love with it and went, right, I'm going to get back onto the whole Minecraft building scene again. Because I used to do it many years ago, had a server, had a channel, but I fell out of fashion with it. Minecraft sort of didn't have the popularity of the time either, and I was quite busy in my life, so it was a good point to come back into the game, I think, because now it's popular as ever, and I still just love it every day. So we've got a few more townhouses and terraced houses going on through here. These are a bit more simple, but these are going to be the bread and butter houses you have lying around, different coloured workhouses really. Okay, so I believe that's all we've got to show you in Walhampton currently. The idea is for this place to carry on growing and expanding. You can see you've got bits of different coloured wool lying around, which will show where the roads will be eventually. This tree I've placed in here to act as a natural boundary for a building to be built around it. I'm thinking a corner building with maybe a road that cuts across here, connects into the high street. So we're going to venture back up now to the town centre and the church, and I'm just going to leave you guys in the graveyard here for spooky Halloween. But honestly, thank you all for your continued support on this, and I actually love building and I love making these videos for you guys. So if you have any suggestions and stuff you wish to see me build, any ideas, I'm going to say my current thinking is later this year or early next year I want to start a time-lapse series on creating British monuments. So you've got your St Paul's, your Tower Bridge and all of that, but I want to do some more lesser known monuments. Like there's a place in Cornwall called St Michael's Mount, which is similar to St Michel in France. It's just a castle on an island that has a slipway to a causeway to it. I also want to build a place called Sway Tower, which is a local monument to myself. It's the first unreinforced concrete structure built in the world to be higher than 100 feet. It was built in the late 1880s. And I'll also do things like Clifton Suspension Bridge, the original London bridge before it, you know, the one with all the houses on, and anything you actually like recommend. I do want to do Stonehenge and maybe a few other Earth sites. But yeah, so that's my idea, my thinking. So that'll be a side project to this. This one's still going to carry on for as long as I possibly can, because I want to build up the entirety of this county of Hampwickshire. So I'm going to be building Hampwick one day. I've got other towns. If you look at my dynamic map, which I'll put a link in the description below, you can see I've already set up areas I want to build. So in my mind, I'm going to be carrying on this for the foreseeable future. So I hope you guys want to stick along for the journey. Thank you for watching, and thank you for getting us up to 250 subscribers. It really means a lot. So share this video about, drop a like, drop a subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you guys next time.